Hi guys, I'm Sydney Mary, and this is Retired College Athletes, a platform designed to inspire and inform current and former athletes through stories and advice from retired college athletes. And today, we're talking about the hardest adjustments once you move from a college athlete to a retired college athlete. So let's go ahead and jump into it. The first one is one that we have definitely talked about on this channel, so I will link the video above where we talk a lot more about this, but food and fitness. It is so hard to figure out what your routines are around that after after you stop being a student athlete. Really, what happens is like you have work now, you have other responsibilities now, and working out cannot be your sole or even your first priority most of the time. It can be really hard to kind of watch your athletic body change from when you were in college to now, and just kind of coming to terms with like, okay, how am I going to eat to fuel my body now? How am I going to work out to steward my body well now? Those are just hard things to think through. I think the biggest thing that I can tell you as somebody who has been out of college athletics for a while and was a former college athlete is that it all takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. For me, I realized that there's like a 2-year window for you to feel like yourself again after being a college athlete, and that's even physically too. So it's a 2-year window mentally where it's just like I miss my sport, or I'm still grieving a lot of my sport, or it's just like really, really hard. And then the same thing for your body. It just takes some time to be able to get some routines down, to think through like what you want to do now that you are not a student athlete, but what will work well for you in these seasons of life. I'm going to direct you guys to Katie Spada. She's a dietitian that we've had on the podcast, which if you don't know, we have a podcast, and I will link that in the description box below. We have episodes every Monday and Thursday, so definitely check us out. But we had her on the podcast. We've also brought some of her content from the podcast over to YouTube. So I'll link her video in the cards as well as that podcast for you to check out. The second thing is hobbies. It can be hard to figure out what your interests are after sport, especially directly after your sport. So like, a few days out from college athletics, you're not going to automatically have all these hobbies to yourself. And honestly, like I said, that like 2-year window can be super tough in trying to figure that out. For me, it's so interesting. Like I can just speak from personal experience. I, for the longest time, was like, okay, I'm not just a basketball player, but I also don't know what I do outside of basketball. Like if someone wants to ask me what I do, my whole life to that point had been committed to basketball and just giving my time and effort towards that. Now, a few years removed from that, I have hobbies. I have so many hobbies, and my friends laugh at me because I am like the hobbyist. I'm doing something new every other week that I just am just trying to learn and explore. And so it just takes time. I think it's really important that if you are listening to this before you're a retired college athlete, so you're a current college athlete right now, take some time to just think about what you are interested in, and then at least try and explore it once a month. We've definitely discussed that here. But if you are now a retired college athlete and you're trying to figure that out, I think give yourself a lot of grace. It can be so hard to just try and find something to maybe in your mind replace your sport, or just find something else that you're interested in. So give yourself some time, but definitely don't ever stop trying to explore what your other interests are, because there's so much more to life other than sports, and I want to make sure that you are living a fulfilled life in things outside of that as well. This third one is kind of hard to articulate, so just stick with me here. I think relationships can change after college athletics, but it's in a specific way. So let's say, people know you as the athlete or, for whatever sport. I was Sydney, the basketball player. And you know how, specifically around like, I guess family gatherings, when people come around, let's say Thanksgiving, and they're like, hey, how's basketball going? Because that's the one thing they know about you. And they know that you're also good at it. They're like, okay, like, how's it going? Like, what else are you doing? When's the next game? Like, all that stuff. When you're no longer an athlete, that conversation goes away. And it sometimes can feel like people aren't even interested in you anymore. They're not interested in what you can bring to the table, because it feels like all they were interested in was you being good at that skill. Now that you don't do that skill anymore, they kind of don't know where to take the conversation, or they just don't seem interested in you. And I know that that can be a hard thing to kind of come to terms with, because it's painful. It kind of makes you feel like your self-worth was only in your sport. I want to remind you that that's not the case. And I also think that people don't really understand, maybe like I think former athletes get it, and possibly the parents of athletes get it, but people who haven't lived in that space in a while, or are not directly connected to it these days, don't really realize what they're doing sometimes. So I think it's good to just give those people grace in that period, but also stand really firm in the fact that you are more than an athlete. You are more than what people see you as. Feel free to jump into other things and explore those other things, but also feel free to correct them in conversation. I remember oftentimes people would be like, yeah, how's basketball going? I'm like, I don't play anymore. And it's like, it becomes a whole conversation about basketball. And I'm like I said, I don't play anymore. This is what I like doing now. Like, can we talk about that instead? Or like, yeah, I mean, that was just like me then. I do so much more now, or I'm more of a person than just a basketball player. And checking them in that conversation, because it helps them understand that like, hey, you need to do the work of figuring out who I am now. Who I was then is not who I am now. So get to know me. It's nice to meet you. I'm Sydney. This is who I am now. The fourth and final thing is that in general, life just gets harder. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody who is currently in college and going to be transitioning out soon, but one thing I've realized is that I thought college athletics was hard. Like, the schedule, like the typical schedule, everything you have to do, managing expectations, performing at a high level despite anything that may happen. That's hard, right? But I realized that like life after sport can be hard too. And the reason is because now there's a lot more responsibility on the table. You have bills to pay, you have a job to show up to. And I think like the fleeting thoughts of like, oh, I'm just not feeling great and I'm not gonna show up today, or like life is really hard right now and I can't show up. Like, you don't really have that option as you become an adult post-college. You have to show up, you have to do the hard thing. And I think that is just the hardest adjustment, in the sense of like, wow, I thought the last season of life I was in was hard, and this is actually harder, but it's a different type of hard. And so if you're currently coming to those realizations right now, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. I think it's just taking it one step at a time. I always say give yourself grace, and it's because I mean it. I think there's so much that happens in these transitions that we need to be able to sit back and just like love ourselves through. But yes, life in general can be hard. There's a lot of responsibilities that come up. And so while we did go through this like really hard and intense period of time in college athletics, this is just going to be different. And it doesn't make it better or worse. It's just different. But I do understand that it can be a hard adjustment. So I wanted to cover it here. With that said, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. And if you did, please consider hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell notification so you don't miss a video from me. I post every Thursday on topics really similar to this, anything that affects student athletes or retired college athletes. So if you enjoyed this, again, please subscribe. Would love to have you a part of this community, and I'll talk to you next week.